Welcome in, everyone, to the Legit Football NFL podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Phillip Fox here. I have a very special show for you guys today. You might not be aware of this, but I'm actually calling in a superhero duo. I'm talking, Marvel and DC are shaking in their boots right now because I have the Wonder Twins. Let's bring them in. We got Tyler Wayner. We got Anthony Wayner. For the first time in legit football history, at least where I'm here, I have the Wonder Twins, and I couldn't be more excited about it. Why don't we start with you, Tyler, because we hear from Anthony all the time. Tyler, how you doing today, bro?
Hey, Kevin, I'm doing great. I'm excited to be on, and I'm really excited to talk about football.
Let's go, dude. It doesn't get any better, right? That's what we always say. It's the best part of the job is that we get to talk about football all the time.
Absolutely.
Anthony, how are you today, brother?
Good. I'm ready for it. I like Friday shows. It's a lot of fun. We're ending the week at a strong note talking about football.
Yes, sir. I love that, and the enthusiasm from both twins is unparalleled. I'll do a quick little rundown. We have Armand in the chat. What's up, Armand? What's popping? We have Oscar in the chat. What's going on, fellas? Fire emoji. That's what I'm talking about. Armand is giving Oscar a shout, and we have Thomas Bray, the greatest graphic designer in the game, in the chat. That being said, Anthony, how do you feel about getting into our legit headlines? Now, Tyler, I don't know if you know this, but I'm sure you do because you're a pretty frequent commenter. I'm sure you're a pretty frequent listener. We are in a tough stretch of NFL news right now. Would you agree?
I agree.
But we're here, baby, and we still do
Up a
these
little.
headlines because it's what we do. It's who we are. Did I lose you for a second, Tyler?
Yeah, you did.
You're back. So how do you feel? You ready to talk about some exciting mid-July football news?
Yeah, I listen in all the time, and I comment, and it's really cool to finally be a part of it.
Dude, and you
instead of being in the comment section, I'm in the big show.
Yeah, that's what here it is, man. Yeah, and we're happy to have you, bro. So we're gonna start it off. I got two Lions fans with me, the Wonder Twins, the Lions fans. So we're gonna start it off with Amon-Ra St. Brown, who might come up a little bit later in our segment today, but he's looking to top last year's production. The insight comes from the Athletics' Colton Pouncey, who thinks St. Brown's floor is 100 catches and north of 1,000 yards. The word floor was used there to describe 100 and 1,000, which is just crazy. In 2022, St. Brown caught 106 of 146 targets, which is a 73% catch percentage. Very, very good. 1161 and 6 touchdowns across 16 games. With Jameson Williams suspended for the first 7 games of the season and DJ Chark now in Carolina, St. Brown should, health permitting, set a career high for targets. Jared Goff, who is ranked 6th among all quarterbacks with 587 passing attempts, will be likely funneling the ball to St. Brown. Other Lions receivers include Marvin Jones Jr., a familiar face, Josh Reynolds, and Khalif Raymond. I'm going to quote Brian McFadden, and you guys are the Lions fans. I'm teeing you up. Go crazy. Have fun.
Amon-Ra St. Brown is a mirror image. I'm not comparing him too much to Calvin Johnson.
Interesting.
And I grew up watching Calvin Johnson, and I saw him explode. It was incredible. And watching Amon-Ra St. Brown last year, it was like deja vu almost.
Yeah, that's a good situation to be in as a Lions fan. You know, you're going from one legendary receiver to another. Play style is pretty different, right? Amon-Ra does more of his.
I think the size differs a lot.
Right, that too.
Absolutely.
But
I think in more terms of production.
Right. I could see that, Tyler, and I think Amon-Ra is going to win more battles in the slot, whereas Megatron was one of those classic like XY, receivers on the edge, going up for those 50-50 balls.
And he caught it. That's it.
Those 50-50 balls,
Yeah, I like to say when players like Megatron are going up for it, it's not a 50-50 ball. It's like a 75-25 ball.
Absolutely. I mean, St. Brown is definitely more of a slot receiver. He's moving more like across the field instead of down. And he's been productive.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you guys have seen, but Matt Harmon's reception perception just is so favorable on Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen, look it up. Like, look up the numbers. He does the colored route trees, and it just shows anything intermediate, short, ins, digs, curls, all those short routes, Amon-Ra just makes his hay. He is just a complete savage when it comes to the middle of the field between the 20s.
Absolutely. And I think that this offense can operate at a different level if they just kind of surround their game plan around Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I think that if you give him the opportunity for success, he's going to find that success. Jared Goff is a good enough you said 6th last year. He's a good enough quarterback to use Amon-Ra St. Brown to his ceiling. And I think that if they can figure out a way to do that, St. Brown will be one of the best receivers in the league, top 5, maybe even top 3.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, actually. And I actually had him as my fantasy MVP at the wide receiver position last year because of where you drafted him. He didn't cost you an arm and a leg in drafts last year, and he was the wide receiver 7, I want to say, in fantasy football, which is just astronomical production. So, Tyler, I think we have you now. I think we're locked in on having you on the show. Are you going to be targeting Amon-Ra St. Brown in fantasy football this year?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that biased or?
I don't have him on our fantasy league, and I
That's
tried
right.
so hard to get him.
That's
but Anthony
right.
just wouldn't budge.
Does Anthony have him? Okay.
I do. Yes.
Okay, we need to work out some twin deals. I need to see
Yeah.
some Lions players changing hands. It's Anthony. It's only fair to let your brother have a turn, right?
No.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little biased. That's why I like St. Brown so much.
No,
But
don't worry about it, man.
he's also very good, so he can't say
Right. He's
Yeah.
so good that you don't have to be biased to like him or think he's going to
exactly.
do well,
Yeah, you guys are entering a heyday of being Lions fans where you can draft your favorite players whenever you want, and people
Yeah.
won't judge you. They won't think you're crazy.
I can tell people I'm a Lions fan now. Like I don't hide it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Anthony jokes about that, but Anthony was wearing the Honolulu blue loud and proud long before they were good, long before they were in contention. So these are two very mentally strong twins. I can vouch for that. We have Armand shouting out Amon-Ra being smooth, cool as the other side of the pillow, you might say. Armand also wanted the Jets to draft him when he came out. He was a steal where the Lions selected him. I agree wholeheartedly. Boys, this is your team. This is your player. Is there anything else you want to say before we move on to our next legit headline?
I'm good. I'm looking for a really good season from him. Production is going to be increased. I'm excited for it.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, Offensive Player of the Year.
There you go.
Oh.
Boom. You heard it here first. Tyler Wayner, Offensive Player of the Year for Amon-Ra. I will say this really quick because, we correct me if I'm wrong, boys. We are doing best player on every NFC team today, correct?
Yes, that's right.
So the fact that we tightened up our schedule a little bit means, we do have a little bit of carte blanche right now. This article said 100 receptions for 1,000 yards was his floor. How do you guys feel about that? Is that true?
Yes. Yes, I think so.
I only hesitate because of, you think Jahmyr Gibbs, he's going to get a ton of receptions. He's going to be a receiving back. I know Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to get yards. That's for sure. I don't know if he's going to be like the main target in every game. And so
Fair.
That's why I hesitated.
Yeah, and Sam Laporta is, projected to get a piece of the pie. Jameson Williams will probably be hyper-targeted when he comes back. If anything, Jameson Williams theoretically coming back should open up more of the underneath for Amon-Ra to just, pick those slot corners and linebackers that are trying to cover him apart. But I digress. I think it is a good time right now to move on to our next legit headline.
All right.
Saquon Barkley serious about a week 1 holdout. A source has told ESPN's Diana Rossini that Barkley's availability for the Giants' week 1 matchup against the Cowboys will be in serious question if a long-term contract is not reached by the July 17th deadline. On Wednesday, Barkley called out Mike Florio for inaccurately reporting that the Giants offered him $26 million and that he is demanding Christian McCaffrey type money at $16 million per year. While Barkley has been vocal about his disapproval of the franchise tag, he has taken exception to reports that he's turned down reasonable offers, which I could totally understand. If I'm Saquon and they're saying I got offered this in the news, but I really got offered this, It's not a good look, right? Nobody
Right.
wants that kind of bad press, especially a running back who's trying to, reset the market and create a more fair future for players at his position. It's a very worthwhile fight. I'm on the side of the players for the most part in terms of Barkley, Eckler, Josh Jacobs. Last but not least, if Barkley holds out into the season, he'll be replaced by some combination of hold your breath or don't, Matt Breida, Gary Brightwell, and Eric Gray. Not a lot of inspiring names on that list, all due respect. Eric Gray is a 5th-round rookie this year who totaled 1,595 scrimmage yards and 11 touchdowns with the Sooners last year, who probably offers the most upside of the three. Boys, talk to me about Saquon here. How are we feeling?
I think the running back market has changed incredibly, or is changing incredibly. I think there's a variable that's almost inching toward like the way that the quarterback market is changing. It's just on its way up. Like while the whole country and the economy inflates, so does these NFL contracts. And I think that people are watching like McCaffrey get paid and Jonathan Taylor get paid, and they're like, wait, why aren't I getting paid then? I'm as productive as them. Now that could be argued. Is Saquon Barkley as productive as Christian McCaffrey? Not yet, but he can be, and he's shown that. He had the injury that was a setback. I don't think you can ask for McCaffrey money if you are not playing like McCaffrey. And I think that the running back market is at the point where everyone's like, I deserve this, and I won't accept anything but this. And then they're going to hold out, just like Le'Veon Bell did. Remember when Le'Veon Bell did that? And so I think that the running back market is getting in their heads now, and they're like, well, I deserve this much money. If you want me to play for you, you're going to pay me.
Yeah, Tyler, what do you think about Anthony's take there?
I absolutely agree because I think Saquon Barkley has shown enough that he wins games and he puts up yards and he scores touchdowns. And I think he should hold out.
Yeah.
If he isn't getting what he deserves, he should hold out.
Yeah,
As should Austin Eckler.
I completely agree personally. I'm a big believer in paying the running back. I say it all the time on the show, but I'm a power to the people kind of guy. And I think running backs should unionize, bro. Like these running backs should all say, we don't play until we get equal pay. And Eckler was saying he's sick and tired of seeing backup wide receivers make more money than him, who is arguably one of the best running backs in the NFL. It's ridiculous, guys. Like we can all agree that that's the case, right?
Absolutely. Running backs play almost every snap. Even if they're not holding the ball, they're in the formation most of the time.
And they get hit on most plays.
I mean, how many times have running backs retired early because of concussions or injuries? It happens. It's not rare. And if you're putting your body on the line like that, you should be getting paid.
Yeah, no, it's brutal to watch. It really is. And, I mean, they might get worse before they get better because we've been seeing teams draft 3rd-round running back, 4th-round running back, play him for 5 years, and then let him walk. And nobody gets paid. And it's really sad to see. And the market is in a really, really bad spot. So hopefully we start to see, Saquon, Jacobs, Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, those players that are, true tone setters, like true next level difference makers at the position. Hopefully in due time, we see them get what they're worth. Thomas is shouting out in the chat, McCaffrey is doing things only Falk did. He's the Mahomes of backs. Barkley is elite, but not that. How do you guys feel about that comment from Thomas?
It's hard to compare today's running backs to a guy like Marshall Faulk in his day. It's an entirely different game. These running backs are playing different, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's hard to compare McCaffrey to Faulk, but I can see where he's coming from in terms of like his style of play and what he does for his team and all of it. But it's kind of like comparing Saquon Barkley to Barry Sanders. You can't.
Right.
Yeah. You can't compare anybody to Barry Sanders. And similarly, you can't compare anybody to Marshall Faulk. But on the same token, and what I think Thomas is getting at here and where I agree with him, is that McCaffrey is sort of that difference maker at the NFL, at the running back position in the NFL right
Right.
now. He sort of is that very, very unique sort of, pass catching, 3 down workhorse. We'll get you from the slot. We'll get you on a screen. We'll make you miss in a phone booth. McCaffrey really does do it all, and his health has been questionable in the past.
Right.
And Thomas, you're the biggest Panthers fan, and you love Christian McCaffrey. So, talk to us about whether or not the health issues were ever a problem for you. But I do get where he's coming from, calling him the Mahomes of backs and saying Barkley is elite, but not that. I do think Barkley is a top tier running back, top 5, but you don't get top 1 money if you're a top 5 quarterback. Only Mahomes and Barkley are only Mahomes and those players who are elite. Mahomes and McCaffrey are the only players that are getting that next level, next otherworldly bag. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I
Absolutely.
can agree with that.
Yeah. So, really quick before we move on, Armand is shouting out Saquon, reminding him of Ricky Waters based on a style of play. I could definitely see that. Yeah, similar gliding styles of running. Yeah, Quads has that. He kind of he runs like a gazelle. He has those long strides, those beautiful, beautiful legs that he uses to power through the line of scrimmage, hit the hole really hard. I think Quads, given a similar workload, could do similar things to McCaffrey for whatever that's worth. Quads is good through the air. He's good between the tackles. Anything you guys want to say on this subject before we move along?
No, I mean, I think he's good enough to get paid the money he wants. And if he isn't, then New York's just going to say, hey, like, let another team pay you then.
They might, and that would be sad, but they might. And franchise tags are in a weird spot right now because of how much power is going to the players. I don't know how much franchise tags are really going to matter in the future. People might just say, I got my millions. I'll see you in a year.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't like how that feels or how that sounds. I'm really hoping that the CBA and the players can come to an understanding, but I digress. Let's keep it moving. Patrick Mahomes is now saying of his number 1 wide receiver, Kadarius Toney, that he can be one of the best receivers in the league. Mahomes made the comment during an appearance on the AP NFL podcast. Mahomes thinks Toney, who was acquired in a midseason trade last year, will benefit greatly from being in the Chiefs system for an entire offseason. Across 7 games, including 3 starts for the Chiefs last season, Toney caught 14 of 17 targets for an 82% catch percentage, not too shabby, for 171 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did not have time to learn the playbook and was mostly limited to gadget plays. The Chiefs lost Juju Smith-Schuster and Mecole Hardman in free agency this past March, leaving 135 targets up for grabs. Toney has the talent to open this 2023 season ahead of MVS, Sky Moore, and rookie second-rounder Rashee Rice on the depth chart. There's a reason the Giants took Toney in the first round of the 2021 draft. He is a unicorn, especially when he's healthy and motivated. Back in week 5 of the 2021 season, in his 5th career game, he caught 10 passes for 189 yards. Boys, how are we feeling about this? Kadarius Toney could be one of the best receivers in the league. Comments about Mahomes.
Any wide receiver that catches the ball from Mahomes is going to be a good wide receiver.
Fair.
Not a bad
I know
point.
it's hard to say with some of the production from the more like the 3rd and 4th string wide receivers last year, but Mahomes is a completely different human being. I mean, if you play for Mahomes, you're getting yards and you're getting touchdowns.
It's true, and it's especially true if you're Travis Kelce. We all know that Travis Kelce is Patrick Mahomes' one true love. That's not going to change. They are loyal to each other. They got their names tatted and everything. As far as receivers go, Tyler, I like the point that you made about anyone's going to look good with Mahomes throwing it to him. But somehow Marquez Valdes-Scantling was not able to look good with Mahomes throwing the ball to him last year. And
fair point.
I don't
But
know.
Valdes-Scantling has never been good, and he had Aaron Rodgers throwing to him.
You're making great points. Yeah, MVS is, I think, a fraud. I think that's we can put a pin in that one. He's a bum. Sorry, that's a mean term. But let's talk about Toney though specifically because Mahomes is really, really singing his praises, singing his talents. Anthony, have you seen anything from Toney on the field that makes you think that this comment is anything other than off-season smoke?
I mean, never. Like when I watch him play, it's always let's push the corner and try to get space, and he can never get space. I mean, what was it like 3 or 4 interceptions were thrown targeting uh Kadarius Toney, and I'm just like, if he can get space, yeah, he can catch the ball and probably get run after catch, yards after catch. And I'm like, he has to get space though. If he can figure out how to do that, use his feet, have better footwork than he did last season, then yes, I believe he could be one of the better receivers. And that's because of who is throwing him the ball. The offensive line gives him enough time to have enough time for him to get space. So if he could just do that, if the coaches can write up some plays where Toney can really excel, then I believe he can be one of the better receivers. Not the best, but probably one of the better.
Tyler, how do you feel about that?
I agree. I think he's going to show a lot of improvement than he did last year. I think he's more accustomed to the Chiefs now. His chemistry with Patrick Mahomes has increased. And so he's going to show a lot more production.
Yeah, I like that. And I think I'll just say, like, myself, I have my reservations based on his frame and his ability to stay on the field. His last handful of years, he does have those twitchy, really, really quick moves that are inspiring and that do make you think that, like Anthony said, if he could get some catches, he could get some rack opportunities. But will those catches happen? Will he be on the field long enough? Will he hold on to the ball? Will he, and he's also got a lot of personal stuff like that. He's always chirping Giants fans, and apparently he was in some DMs this past week. Like, come on, bro. You're a pro athlete, man. You're making millions. Leave the people alone. But also that goes for the fans too. Like, don't harass your former favorite player. It's not cool. But yeah, Armand brings up a good point here. Rashee Rice is in the conversation. Second round Chiefs rookie wide receiver. Sky Moore is a second-year receiver for the Chiefs. Like, that's a big common breakout year for receivers. MVS did get that bag, even though we all think he's trash. So, boys, talk to me. Is there another opportunity for a different wide receiver, or is it Toney or bust when it comes to Patrick Mahomes and his finally finding a wide receiver to replace Tyreek Hill?
I drafted Rice, so I'm really hoping he's right about this.
Right.
Exactly.
There's that. Oh, sorry, go on.
But for real, Rice is going to be more of I think, a third, fourth wide receiver. I think it's going to be Toney, number one, and then Travis Kelce is obviously number one, but
he's his own right.
In terms of wide receivers, I think Rice is going to find production. Sky Moore is going to find production, but
yeah,
Toney and Kelce are going to be the number one targets.
Interesting. Anthony, what do you got to say about that?
So Legit Football, a couple weeks ago, voted the best position group as the Bengals wide receivers. If this is, and that's the bar, and I think that they're trying to reach that bar. They're trying to finally get the receivers they need. Will they reach that bar? Probably not. No, I'm going to say no. But I think that that's what they're going for, where they're going to have a trio just like that, where like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, they got the same amount of yards last season. Now, are they going to try to do that in Kansas City? But you have Travis Kelce. And so it's like, do you focus on your receiving core? If Travis Kelce is your top tight end, will Toney be able to exceed what Travis Kelce can do? Probably not. Even Rice, I think that he'll get 400, 500 yards receiving, maybe 6-7 touchdowns. But will he be? Will this receiver core even be one of the best in the season? I don't think so. Which also makes Kadarius Toney probably not the best receiver.
When the Chiefs lost Tyreek Hill, I thought that too. But then the Chiefs go and win the Super Bowl, and then You're like, wait, hold on.
Classic Chiefs, classic Andy.
Yeah, Reid, right.
Classic Mahomes.
Yep. Just figured it out.
Nah, realistically though, I'll just throw my 2 cents in. I do think Sky Moore is the name to watch here.
I agree.
Second year wide receiver breakout, very common year for wide receivers to break out. His metrics from his rookie year, there was some promising things that kind of suggested that Sky Moore would be an ascendant player this year. Again, like you, Tyler, fingers crossed, given the fact that I have him in Dynasty. Might be a bit biased there. But Rashee Rice, Kadarius Toney, who cares when you have Travis Kelce
Fair.
and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and that's just the truth. So really quick before we move on, we have Armand's hot take of the day.
Let's see it.
Bold take: Mike Evans is going into his walk year, will be traded to the Chiefs at the deadline in November. Mike
That
Evans
may change the conversation, though.
I don't care if this man is 40 years old. He would still be a great wide receiver with Patrick Mahomes. He would eat in that offense. No question.
Absolutely.
All right, boys. It's time for our
main topic.
Oh, that's right, baby. The main topic. And we have the Wonder Twins. We have Anthony and Tyler on the show. So today's theme, today's topic is best current players in the NFC. We're going, who's the best player on every team? And it's a really fun exercise. I don't know about you guys. I cheated a little bit. I used Madden overall to sort of guide my conversation. I was like,
I like that, though.
I was like, let me look at the top overall players. And then I cherry picked when I was like, I don't agree with Madden here, or I do agree with Madden here. So this is going to be a really fun, evolving conversation. I kind of want to let you guys are the NFC people. I'm the AFC guy. I'm a huge Buffalo Bills fan. Everyone knows. So it's easier if I just let the Lions fans take over and do what they do. I'll throw my 2 cents in when it's needed. But Anthony, why don't you take it away with the NFC North and the projected winner of the division?
Oh, the NFC North. Say Amon-Ra St. Brown is probably the greatest player in Detroit right now. And that not only does he have the production that they need, but he has the physicality, the young age, and the morale. I mean, he has energy on and off the field that Detroit needs. He's the base of the culture. A lot of people are saying Jamal Williams was, but no, it was the two of them. And I think with his ability to score, his ability to get run after catch, his ability to even catch every ball that's thrown to him, I think that he's really establishing a rhythm every time he touches that gridiron. And I think that makes him the best player in Detroit.
All right. You would think I would agree with him, but I'm saying Penei Sewell is the best player for the...
Coming out of left field, no pun intended. Penei Sewell. He's a left tackle, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, Tyler, tell me why.
Penei Sewell is a brick house. He doesn't let anybody get past them. I mean, Jared Goff statistically was in the top of the least sacked quarterback in the NFL.
True.
And Penei Sewell has a lot to do with that. I mean, he's hard fought. And when Penei Sewell went up against Aaron Donald looked small. He looked it was insane to see the two just go at each other and see Penei Sewell have the upper hand.
Oh, no.
I mean, Aaron Donald, of all people.
It's a beautiful thing. We haven't seen many people handle Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
So,
but Tyler, I have a question for you. Are you saying Penei Sewell is better than Frank Ragnow?
Yes.
That was going to be my question, Anthony. Because Madden has Frank Ragnow listed as the best player on the Detroit Lions.
I think Ragnow is better than Sewell. Not only is he a veteran, but he's bigger, he's stronger, he has better footwork. I just think that Armand, he played right tackle and left tackle. So they did
positional versatility. Another feather in his cap.
Same with Ragnow.
He played wide receiver in one play against the
That was a classic play. I love that play.
I want him to play QB next year.
Who do you think is the greatest player on Detroit?
Yeah, I had St. Brown and Ragnow as my two candidates, and I was going to let you guys fight it out. But I like all of them. I like all three of those picks are solid. Cool. Boys, should we head to the projected second place finisher in that division? Who?
Absolutely.
It's up for the It's really up for grabs for who it is. I mean, we have Minnesota, Chicago, and Green Bay really all jockeying for positioning there. Let's go with Minnesota because they're the defending champs.
I'm going to go with Minnesota.
Yeah, I think if we go with Minnesota for a second, I think the obvious answer here is Kirk Cousins. No, I'm just kidding. The face of the video, we all know this man, Justin Jefferson, is the best
Justin
player
Yes.
on the Vikings and probably the best wide receiver in the NFL. Is there any other players that you think deserve a shout?
No.
Nope.
I mean that's an obvious answer. I think Justin Jefferson is the best on Minnesota.
The gap is huge between him and the next best player, but I think for argument's sake, we should always throw in a couple extra names. Thomas threw out Christian Darrisaw, great player.
Yeah.
My backups, like I didn't, like I said, this is really just for show here, but I like TJ Hawkinson a lot.
He's a good player.
I like what's the name of the player I was thinking of? I like Harrison Smith a lot. I think they're good players, but the conversation starts and ends with Justin Jefferson for the best player on the Vikings. He's the cover of our video for this, and it's really easy for us to keep it moving. Green Bay, couple names floating around. Tyler, why don't we start with you here? Who's the best player on Green Bay?
None.
That's not allowed. No, I'm just kidding.
Good. That's a good one.
Homerism. Homer hat.
For real.
Armand said Dalvin Cook. Oh wait, LOL. Nice.
I thought about this, and it's really hard, honestly, because I don't see after they lost so many players, I don't see any of these Packers getting any star. It's just.
You got Homer goggles on. I'm not judging. I hate the Dolphins and the Jets and the Patriots. I get it. Jair Alexander is one of the best corners in the league. I don't love him. I think he talks too much, and I loved watching Diggs eat his lunch money last year or eat his lunch. And also Rashawn Gary is another one, nice edge player. And Aaron Jones. Those are three really good names. But I really think that's it. I mean, I like Christian Watson as an ascendant talent, but I don't think he's by far even close to being the best player on the team. Any other names that you guys can think? I know you hate the Packers, but Alexander.
If I had to pick, to be serious, it's Aaron Jones.
Okay, okay, there you go. Was
I
that so
could
hard?
joke about the Packers all day, but Aaron
I'm
Jones
proud of you.
is a good player.
Anthony?
I'll give him that.
I agree with you with Jair Alexander. I think he's probably the
Yeah.
best player on that team right now.
Yeah. Shout out to Thomas for throwing in some Kenny Clark love. There needs to be some Kenny Clark love. Players like that don't get enough shine. Boys, we have one team left, and this was the one that I had the most trouble with. I know you guys hate the Packers, but Anthony, who's the best player on the Chicago Bears?
Oh, DJ Moore.
Ooh.
I think with him joining Chicago, I do think that he has become the best player on Chicago. He was very productive in Carolina. Now I guess you could say he has a different quarterback, not a better quarterback, but his play style is just so different that maybe he can excel with that kind of play style.
Mm-hmm.
I like Justin Fields, and I think that the organization and the team, he just wasn't able to do much because of what was around him. And now I think that things are changing.
Wait, can we rewind to when you said I like Justin Fields? Because I don't think I heard you right.
No, I have my analyst cap on. I have my
Trouble in paradise.
There's no bias.
Wow.
There's no bias here.
Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. I'm gonna break up the sibling rivalry. Okay, we're gonna take a deep breath. Everybody's gonna count to 5. Go to your corners. No, I'm just kidding. Thomas and Martini PK. Shout out to my pops checking out the show. I think he meant Edmonds because Thomas said Edmonds, and my choice is Tremaine Edmonds, linebacker, formerly of the Buffalo Bills, now a Detroit Lion, now a Chicago Bear, who is 6'11" with a 400-inch wingspan. He's a pterodactyl. He erases throws before they're made. I think Tremaine Edmonds deserves some love here. Mm-hmm. Crazy! Right. Thomas was on his kids and pros team. That's really cool, Thomas. I did not know you were from the same place as Tremaine Edmonds. So you must know Terrell too, then, Thomas. That's cool. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Edmonds brothers. Tremaine was great for Buffalo, and it was hard to see him go. Any other names on this list, boys? Any other names for Chicago before we move on?
Deontay Foreman.
Okay, I like a little respect shout out there.
We just named 2 Panthers. That's interesting.
Oh yeah,
that's interesting.
They're just poaching them.
I guess so.
My only concern with Deontay Foreman is that Justin Fields is going to run more than Foreman is going to get the chance to.
Absolutely. Khalil Herbert's a good running back too. He's a good change of pace back. I think Justin Fields could play his way into this conversation next year. I think it's too early right now, but I think that stretch of games last year when he was dominant, he kind of opened the door a little bit for us to talk about him as an ascendant quarterback, a breakout quarterback, if you will. But I think we've done a pretty effective job here, talking about the Bears when really it was hard picking a name. They're a tough team.
That's a tough one.
They could be ascendant. They got better, but I digress. Let's move on. Anthony, pick the next division, pick the next team. I'm ready.
Let's do the NFC West.
NFC West.
Because
Who's
I want
going?
to talk about the Rams.
The Rams.
And I think we have to say just, hey, Cooper Kupp.
There you go. Yeah, okay. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
But then we have to look at the other side of the ball too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we can say Cooper Kupp's the best because he scores touchdowns. Yeah. But how many times on the defense had they not allowed a touchdown, or they were only down 3 points and they said, hey, like, we won the game because of this defense? And especially in the Super Bowl that Jared Goff went to, it was a lot to do with the defense. And the Rams, they've been notorious for a good defense up until last year, but there is still good talent on the defense. And I think you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. Best player in the NFL, Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald.
Hands down. I was just proud of you for not saying Stafford, honestly. I thought you were going to say Matt Stafford because you love him.
I do. And he's a great player. I'd put him in top 5, but not
he's in the conversation for sure for best Ram. But Donald and Kupp are, they're two elite players at their position. Tyler, any extra names you want to throw in there or any commentary you want to throw in there on those?
Who'd you put as your Ram?
Cooper Kupp. I mean,
okay.
He's insane. You can't really. It's hard to put anybody ahead of Cooper Kupp or even close to him. Aaron Donald, but
right. The two of them are just. It's such a Cooper Kupp. And correct me if I'm wrong. Did you guys go to Rams Bills season opener last year by any chance? I thought no, you guys didn't go to that game.
No, we didn't end up going.
Let me tell you right now, bro. Cooper Kupp is just he's literally a master at running routes. Like watching him, I was in the nosebleeds, so I had the all 22s.
Oh yeah.
And so I saw every little angle, and dude, this man was cooking people left and right. I think Buffalo has good defense, and he made them corners look silly. He really did.
So it's unanimously Cooper Kupp then here.
I mean, Aaron Donald is. I would still say Aaron Donald. I would still say because I think he's the best player in the league. So I don't think
that's true.
Say he's not on his own team, but at least it's a conversation. They're both amazing. Like they're both in the 99 range for Madden. I think if I recall correct, Kupp might have been like 97 or something, but Donald is a 99. Good stuff, boys. We crushed the Rams. Tyler, where are we going next in the West? Pick a team, any team.
Let's go to San Francisco.
Ooh, this is a fun one. Yeah. Well, it's easy, but is it though? Because they have like 7 All-Pros.
That's true.
That team is insane.
But I got to put McCaffrey up front.
You got to do McCaffrey. I can dig it. I can respect it. Why?
Because he's a workhorse. I mean, I think he's the top running back in the league.
Oh, interesting.
Truly. I
agree.
His problem in the last couple years with Carolina, for instance, he was hurt. He was hurt too much to show anybody how good he really was. And when he came to San Francisco and he was healthy, he showed that.
Yeah. No, I agree. McCaffrey's a dog. He catches passes.
The other side of the ball. What about Nick Bosa?
Nick Bosa absolutely deserves a mention here. I think Nick Bosa, George Kittle, Debo, CMC. Shout out to Armand for those 4. I'll throw Fred Warner in the mix. Thomas through Trent Williams in the mix. All these players, you guys, are phenomenal players.
Yeah, absolutely.
Contenders for best at their position.
But Kevin, who's the best? Who's your number 1?
You're putting me on the hot seat, bro. Okay, I'm gonna take a deep breath and I'm gonna say Trent Williams because he's an All-Pro and he's just like a stalwart at that position for that team. McCaffrey doesn't do what McCaffrey does without Trent Williams.
Fair. I agree with you. Personally, I would do CMC still adjusting to San Francisco.
Yeah.
He mid-season joined
Yep.
them. So Trent Williams, I'll have to agree with you.
Yeah, and so we'll for whatever it's worth. I mean, we'll always throw out all the names, and we'll sometimes we'll agree, sometimes we won't. I mean, Armand's got Bosa as his official choice. Tyler, you locking in CMC, or are you rethinking that?
I think so.
You locking
I
in CMC?
thought
I
about
can
the
respect
other
it.
ones, and
Yeah.
I couldn't steer away from McCaffrey.
There's nothing wrong with that, man. He had a game last year where he caught 4, ran 4, and threw for a touchdown. So,
Yeah.
that's the holy trinity right there. I got respect for it. I don't fault you at all. I'll pick a team.
Cool.
And this is hard for me because this team is one of the most polarizing teams in the league. Based on who you ask, you might hear that they're going to be one of the best or one of the worst. And their quarterback either is for real or he's not. And I'm talking about the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm talking about Mr. Geno Smith, who didn't write back. Like, I'm not saying he's the best player on the team, but I'm saying he's gotten – a lot of people are trying to remind us of the fact that he was a backup just a year ago, and now he's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with the guys he's throwing the ball to. I like Lockett and Metcalf as the best players on the Seattle Seahawks.
I was thinking the same thing, Lockett or Metcalf.
Love those players. Tyler?
I'm the same way.
Same, locked in.
So now we have to figure out who's the best between the
Metcalf.
two. Who would you rather have on your team between the two? So you're playing Madden, and you have to pick one of these guys as your main receiver.
Is it for one game, or is it for to start a franchise with?
The whole franchise, yep.
DK, because of his age and his ceiling. I don't think DK's seen his ceiling yet. I think he can still get better.
It's a big dude.
He's built.
Yeah.
Yoked.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Great choice. Easy conversation there.
Yep.
You could throw Ken Walker in there. Thomas
has a little bit more to show. I agree with Tyler. There's still more time. We need to see more.
Eventually. Thomas is shouting out the fact that Metcalf and Lockett are so different. Absolutely. Personally, it's PB&J. There you go. We finally found it. Really, what is really peanut butter and jelly? For me, I would pick Lockett if it was a one-game situation because I prefer slot receivers, and Lockett's been doing it longer. So I would, if you were talking for one game of Madden, I'd grab Tyler Lockett, I'd put him in my slot, and I'd option him on a slant every single play, and he'd have 11 receptions.
There you go.
Because he's that kind of receiver.
Right.
There's one team left in the West. Who's jumping in? Who's leading us off?
Yikes.
It's a tough conversation to have, I know.
Say Buda Baker, though.
Yeah.
I think you got to go Buda
100%. I couldn't think of any other names.
Right.
Kyler Murray.
No, and that's
Just kidding.
No, Tyler, that was really brave of you. You went out on the limb. It might have snapped a little bit, but it's you're holding on to it still.
Oh boy.
We are leaving Kyler for dead for no reason. He is capable of great things in the NFL. We've seen it. His health is bad.
I don't think he can win games. I don't think he can win seasons.
I mean, he took them to the playoffs, a year and a half ago? Was I dreaming when the three of us were at Buffalo Wild Wings watching Matt Stafford pummel Kyler in the playoffs?
Okay, that's fair.
Well, that's the point. Pummel Kyler.
I mean, they made it to postseason. So
that's what I'm saying.
If you can make it to the playoffs, and you're not a bad quarterback. But I think a lot of last season had
Daniel
to do with
Jones
coaching.
brought the Giants to the playoffs, too.
Well, Daniel Jones is the best player on the Giants. No, I'm just kidding.
The best player in the NFL.
In the NFL.
We'll get there.
Danny Dimes. No, but seriously, though, shout out to Thomas here. Keeping some perspective. Kyler was an MVP candidate with Cliff. Armand throwing a joke in there about James Conner. I like James Conner. He's not for this conversation, but he's a good player. Great story. If you don't know James Conner's story, Google it. It's beautiful. He's cancer survivor. Absolutely love the fight that guy has, and yeah, he's been relevant for way longer than most running backs are. So a lot of love for James Conner. But yeah, Buda Baker is just the slam dunk pick. I don't think, like I said, I don't think there's even another. I can't even think of another name. Sadly, Mr. Producer Anthony, where are we going next, and with what team are we starting?
Let's go to the NFC East, one of the more competitive divisions this year.
Absolutely.
I want to start with the Philadelphia Eagles. They made it to the Super Bowl last year and lost. Jalen Hurts.
I can live with the Jalen Hurts pick. He's on my list.
Okay.
Tyler.
Is that your number one?
Well, I want to hear what Tyler has to say.
Okay, let's hear it.
Darius Slay.
Oh,
Slay's on my list too.
Throw a
And
veteran
I'm
list.
not
I like
only
that.
saying that because he was a Lion. Okay, maybe a little bit, but I still have a lot of respect for Darius Slay.
He's great.
I think
He's a great player.
he makes clutch plays.
Yeah. No, he really does.
But it's hard to not say Jalen Hurts is the best player on the Eagles, so I still have to go with Jalen Hurts. But Darius Slay is up there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I kept saying he's on my list is because this is one of the teams I did not pick a name for because there's too damn many. It was kind of like the 49ers. I have Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown. I threw some love in there for Devontae Smith. I don't think he is the best because I like AJ Brown better, but Devontae Smith deserves some love. Darius Slay, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey. Come on. That team is so stupidly stacked.
It is. And I mean, you could probably put the whole offensive line
Yeah.
and the whole defensive line, just the whole team.
Literally,
It's
Hassan
really,
Reddick deserves
really
some
good
love.
team.
Yeah, it's not fair.
What about the Cowboys?
Let's really quick before we move on from the Eagles. We do have to. I do think we'd be remiss if we didn't pick a name.
Oh yeah.
Is it Jason Kelsey? Is it Lane Johnson? Is it Jalen Hurts? Is it AJ Brown? Is it Darius Slay? I any of those names. I mean,
I might have to. I mean, Jalen Hurts has kind of showed himself now. He's proved himself. I mean,
yeah, but you know what? I like the Jalen Hurts pick, but here's my thought. Do you guys think Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFL?
No.
No.
Do you think he's the second best?
No. He might be the best in his division.
Tyler.
Maybe.
Tyler. I have him as my fourth best quarterback in the NFL.
Okay.
And I think that's fair. I think Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes, in whatever order you pick, should be the top three. And therefore, when it comes to Jalen Hurts, he's the fourth best player at his position. You could make the case that Jason Kelsey is the best player at his position. You could make the case that Darius Slay is the best player at his position. You could make the case that Lane Johnson is the best player at his position. So therefore, I struggle a little bit with Jalen being our pick. But he's on my list and I've thought about it. So do we just call it a wash and move on?
No, I'm glad you brought up Jason Kelsey.
Yeah.
Because that is
one of the best centers in the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think if you guys are cool, I'm going with Jason Kelsey.
We'll throw some love back.
Kelsey.
I think it's the right thing to do, but I'm glad Hurts is getting his shine. Tyler, we're gonna have to talk about that comment that you made just now. Like, I'm not gonna forget. But we can move on for now. Anthony, you were saying something about the Cowboys. Dive in.
The Cowboys, I think we all know who is the best player in the Cowboys. His name is Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons. I mean,
okay. Yes.
Yeah. It has to be, right?
You're right. I like Dak a
lot.
lot.
What did you think he was gonna say?
I like Dak a lot.
What did you think?
I like Dak a lot. I like CeeDee Lamb a lot. Thank you, Thomas, in the chat. Also likes Lamb. But yeah, no, I have Trayvon Diggs' name written down.
That's good.
Zach Martin, the guard. They have a lot of talent. But we're all in agreement. Armand, Thomas, everybody.
It's got to be Parsons.
The Wonder Twins. It's Parsons. I was kind of, like I said, I'm teasing these out. I want to have these conversations because I think that's what makes for compelling discussions when it comes to the best player on every team.
Sure.
However, it's easy. It's open and shut. He's going to be a defensive player of the year candidate every year he's playing at this level. So yeah, we can. That's signed, sealed, delivered, baby. You can lick the envelope. That's over. Tyler, where are we going next in the NFC East?
The New York Football Giants.
And who's their best player?
Saquon Barkley, if he sticks around.
Yeah, we were just talking about him in the headlines. I agree, Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
Yeah, if Quads isn't holding out, he's a true difference maker at the position. There's not that many of them at the moment, so you got to give love where it's due. Quads absolutely belongs in the conversation. Dimes hasn't done enough, and he's also might not ever do enough. He might be a quarterback you can win with, but I don't know if he'll ever be a quarterback you win because of.
Right.
Yeah.
So Dimes can stay in that Kirk Cousins tier, even though he's getting Pat Mahomes money. We have Armand showing some love for head coach Brian Dable. I love that. And we have my pops throwing his hat in the ring for Saquon Barkley. I agree. Barkley's my pick. Dexter Lawrence, defensive lineman, deserves some love. Fantastic, fantastic player, Dexter Lawrence. We'd be remiss if we didn't give him a shout, but open and shut, Saquon Barkley.
Absolutely.
Last but not least, Anthony, the Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
Brian McFadden's favorite team.
Yeah. Terry McLaurin, I think, could be in the conversation as the best on Washington.
TMC. Yeah, I like Terry McLaurin. That's my pick as well. Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle.
That's who I was gonna say. Jonathan.
I like that.
Allen.
Yep, I like that.
He's a beast.
He really is. And Thomas in the chat co-signing the Jonathan Allen argument. Scary Terry coming in from Armand. We have a lot for Terry. We have a lot for Allen. I don't know if there's another name that you could talk about
here. It's a tough
here.
one to choose. Yeah, I mean, Montez Sweat, but I don't think we can.
Yeah, Sweat is good. Chase Young maybe a couple years ago, but he hasn't really panned out the way we all thought he would. Not a ton of impressive names other than that on that team.
Yeah, I can't really think of any.
They're a deeper team, but they're not a very top-heavy team. Oh,
right.
Thomas shouted out Deron Payne. I appreciate the way we're overlooking Deron Payne. I find that trench players, and I notice this in our conversations because they usually come up a little later, and then we're like, oh, yeah, that guy. Trench players don't get the shine and the love that the running backs, receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks, flashy defensive players, they don't get as much love, but trench players are just as important. So thank you, Thomas, for bringing that up. But are you guys cool with calling it McLaurin and moving on?
Yeah.
I'm down for that. I like that.
Glad to hear that. I agree. And I think Terry deserves more love and respect. He's a very underrated player, I think. We have one division left, you guys. We are flying through our rankings. And Tyler, God willing, I'd love to have you on the AFC show. You're bringing some great takes.
I'm down.
Let's try to make that happen.
Yeah.
Last but not least, Tyler, since you're the guest of honor, kick us off with our last division and pick a team.
NFC South, New Orleans Saints.
Who do you got? It's tough.
Surprisingly, I gotta say Derek Carr.
Wow.
And I say that because I think that Las Vegas was like a hammer on him.
Yeah.
You know, he was constantly being beaten down and he couldn't stand back up and show anybody what he was capable of.
Yeah.
And I think now that he's in New Orleans with a whole different organization, I think he can show what he's truly made of. I think that Derek Carr is a really good quarterback.
Yeah. Kevin, I know you've been high on Derek Carr for a while.
Absolutely. I think he's underrated. I really do. And I think Tyler made a great point. He never really had a chance to be the best that he could be, given the offensive line, the weapons, the defense, the health. You know,
the coaching.
The coach, that's the big one, right? McDaniels.
Yeah.
I think that Derek Carr is going to surprise a lot of people this year. And I'm glad that Thomas is showing that love too. Throwing in Marshawn Lattimore's name, not a bad call. Throwing in Alvin Kamara's name, not a bad call. I also have Kamara, Lattimore on my list.
What about Chris Olave?
I was going to say that's my pick, I think. I love Chris Olave.
That's my pick.
The talent on Chris Olave is insane. The opportunities is insane. He finally has a real quarterback throwing him the ball. Okay, Armand. See, again, we're sleeping on trench players. I think you're referring to Cameron Jordan.
Yeah.
Dog. Complete dog. Absolutely deserves a shout here. What are we thinking, boys? Is this Olave? Is this Carr? Is this Lattimore?
I like Olave.
I'm stuck between maybe Olave. I mean, Kamara is a veteran. Kamara
in his prime might be on this list.
I don't know.
In his prime, yeah.
But he's fallen off.
He was kind of slow last year, I think.
He's fallen off.
I couldn't put him up. So I'm gonna go with Chris Olave.
Yeah, let's do it.
Right, let's complete
Olave. Let's complete the Holy Trinity. Chris Olave. And take us to our next NFC South team.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And why is it Baker Mayfield? No.
Low-hanging fruit, Ant. Low-hanging fruit.
Mike Evans, though. I mean, honestly.
Mike Evans. Yeah. Mike Evans is an interesting pick. I like it. Left field a little bit. Tyler, go ahead.
Tyler, I'm gonna hear yours.
Um,
Are you just thinking?
yeah.
I thought you were like getting ready to go in and
No,
I
I
like
was questioning his decision for Mike Evans.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
because Thomas shouts out Tristan Wirfs, who is an elite
That's
offensive tackle.
Absolutely.
I actually have Tristan Wirfs or Ryan Jensen
You have Vita
as my
Vea
pick.
too.
Vita Vea. Oh my word. Carlton Davis. Man, for a team that is being left for dead, they sure do have a lot of talent.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that just goes to show you how important the quarterback position is. And the fact that
True.
they're so uncertain at quarterback is what is making us think that they suck.
And how good Tom Brady was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
he's the GOAT, right?
Yeah, he is.
7 rings? Crazy. I don't even want to talk about it. Now I don't feel good, Mom. I want to go home. I want to go to the nurse. But yeah, no, I will give it up for Wirfs, Jensen, Vea, Evans, Godwin.
Yep.
If we're saying Evans, we have to
Godwin,
say Godwin,
yeah.
right?
I would put Godwin over Evans, though. I don't know
Whoa.
why. There's
really
something I don't
sneaky
see
pick.
in Evans.
So something
There-
you don't see. Explain. What do you not see in Evans? And we'll get to Pop's comment after.
It might be every time I would watch a Buccaneers game, Mike Evans was never doing anything. I don't know if it was just weird timing or what, but
Right?
every time I would see Mike Evans drop a ball, and I'd
Yeah.
be like, what's all this hype on Mike Evans about? Because I don't
Fair.
see it.
That's
And I
it's
didn't
so
see
funny.
it at all last year.
That's a really good point because I feel like that's the case with a lot of players. Like I hear all this love about like Justin Herbert, and I feel like I don't see what other people see really. Like I get that he's got the numbers and he's great, but like I don't ever see him go out and really like win duels. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? It's
Yeah.
very funny that you bring that up for Evans. Now Tyler, eloquently put, and I think it's fair. Evans was dropping a lot of passes last year. He had one of his worst seasons he's ever had, but he still had 1,000 freaking yards because he's Mike Evans. Death, taxes, Mike Tomlin having a winning record, Mike Evans having 1,000 yards. Those are the only things that are certain in life. I do want to give a shout out to my Pop's pick of Antoine Winfield Jr., one of the best safeties in the league.
Yep.
And also, I think my Pops is maybe saying this because in the years when I started watching football, 8, 9, 10 years old, 03, 04, Antoine Winfield was one of the best corners on the Buffalo Bills. And so the fact that his son is balling out now, I think maybe my Pops has some nostalgia goggles on. I think it's a good pick. I think I have his name written down. Let's see. Armand, Anthony, and Tyler, do the Bucks fire sale at the deadline?
No.
It depends.
We have a no and we have an it depends, and I'd like an answer on both.
I say it depends because we haven't seen Baker Mayfield at quarterback for Tampa Bay yet.
Fair.
We don't know what he's going to do.
I don't know, man. Have you ever seen the Arrested Development scene where the guy's like, man, all these people keep convincing themselves that it's going to be different for them, but it's not. But for us, it's going to be different. That's kind of how I feel about Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, I've liked Baker ever since he was drafted, and I've been
Everybody-
I watch him play for the Rams, and I think he can be good, but he hasn't really shown. He hasn't hit his ceiling yet. I think he's just on his way there.
I don't know about that.
You think he hit his ceiling?
I don't want to talk too high on Baker Mayfield. I think he's a mid quarterback, though.
I think he's lower than mid.
Lower?
I think he's lower than mid. Yeah, if I'm ranking quarterbacks, I don't think he makes my top 20.
Huh.
Okay.
Honestly, that's just how I feel personally from what I've seen. He's had good situations. Cleveland was supposed to be a perennial playoff team under Baker.
Yep.
And they shipped him away for a very, very controversial player. I think that tells you all you need to know. What we saw in Carolina, Thomas knows. Thank you, Tom. I was just waiting for Thomas to come in, and lowest QBR in Panthers history. Absolutely. Yeah, he was horrendous for the Panthers, a full offseason with them to try to get good. And Anthony, I agree with you. The moment with the Rams last year will be one of the greatest one-night wonders in NFL history. I won't forget that. That was beautiful.
Yep, that was amazing.
It was
I
beautiful.
wonder if that's why I look so highly on him. I don't know.
Right? That's why we love football. We love moments like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Thomas, I love this. Evans is the Saquon of wide receivers. He's a home run guy. He's the Aaron Judge of the NFL.
I like it.
How you guys feel about that? Tigers fans, huh? You like that?
Yeah, right. Woo.
Yeah, show some love. I was giving you your moment.
Absolutely.
Boys, 2 teams left.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's do it.
All right.
And let's talk about the Panthers because we were talking about Baker at the Panthers. The Carolina Panthers. Who do you think is the best player? Because I have an interesting one.
If Tyler's got one, I'm gonna leave this one to Tyler. I do have a name, but I'm gonna let Tyler have the floor here.
Man, I should have done my research.
No, please, no.
I'm
This
drawing
is
a blank
this
on
is
this
just one of the tougher. This is one of the tougher teams. All due
It's a
respect,
tough
Thomas.
one, yeah.
Thomas commented the name I was thinking, which is Brian Burns.
That's what I was
defensive end.
thinking. I had Brian Burns on my list.
This man is
Oh.
perpetual getting mad sacks. I like the horn love. You do have to give some horn love.
I like JT.
Elite corner. But yes, health has been an issue. So sorry, Thomas. I hate to dog your team. Bryce Young might be talked about on this list next year. But Brian Burns is definitely the name. I also love Miles Sanders. I don't think he's the best player on the team. I think Brian Burns and Horn are better, but Miles Sanders is completely underrated. Thomas is one of the people who underrates him. His own running back, you guys. This man Thomas drags Miles Sanders.
I would say Miles Sanders is one of the better players on the Panthers.
I agree. Anthony?
Not the best, but yeah, probably top 5. I think he's one of the better players on the roster, but I wouldn't put him above Burns or Horn.
No, same. And I think the same goes for wide receiver Adam Thielen. Very, very great career. Very, very storied career in Minnesota. Deserves a shout here, but I don't think where he is now in his career. I think Jeremy Chin deserves some love. He's a pretty great player.
Wouldn't put him on Horn either, though.
No, me neither. Just throwing some love out there. Just throwing some names out there because we did it for every team, and not all teams are created equal, right? The 5 best players on some teams won't be as good as the 5 best players on other teams, but it's an equal opportunity podcast. So we're going to show love to the good teams and the bad teams because you guys just started liking a good team. So you can't now discriminate against bad
just
teams.
Now.
Right? You guys are like Eddie Murphy in Trading Places. You're like, oh, I don't want to talk about those peasants. My Lions are contending for the division. I don't want to talk about those peasants.
Yep. We're not allowed to be cocky yet.
Get a playoff win. Get a playoff win, and then get a ring. I mean, as a Bills fan, that's the one thing I'm still waiting for is that damn ring.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So I feel you.
We're all in the same boat.
We really are. You guys are a couple paddles behind me, but we are all in the same boat.
We don't have that man Josh Allen.
It's fair. I'm excited to talk about AFC teams.
Yeah,
I'm excited to talk about AFC teams.
But for now,
last
Atlanta.
but not least, one last team. Atlanta. Tyler, since you're the guest of honor.
Pitts.
Kyle Pitts.
Yep.
He's on my list.
That with no hesitation.
He said it with his chest. Why?
Because Kyle Pitts is a tight end, but he plays like a wide receiver.
Fair.
I mean, that's 2 positions in one guy.
Great athlete.
Yeah, so it's like
great talent.
You throw to Kyle Pitts on a screen, he'll get you the first down. You throw to Kyle Pitts on a slant, he'll get you the first down and some yards. Kyle Pitts is like a duo player. He can do anything.
Yeah. No, I like the pick from a talent standpoint. He hasn't really performed yet. Production, I'll say he doesn't get the mark for me on. I think that they have some other players. Anthony, who you got?
Drake London.
Another variant. I'm liking where we're at in this.
It's hard. I feel like it's such a different roster. It's not terrible. I mean, it's Brian's love child, but I think that
he loves them. He loves
he
the
does.
Falcons.
And I think he loves them because of their development, because of their potential. And so to think
a lot
that
of
there's
young guys.
and to think there's a best player right now, it's really hard to tell because there's still so much development and room for improvement before we see anything.
Yeah. No, great points. Armand throwing some love for Grady Jarrett. My
That's a good one.
pops throwing some love for Kyle Pitts as well. My pops, lives in Florida, and I know him and his brother watched every Kyle Pitts game. Shout out to Uncle Rob. Gotta love the Kyle Pitts love that we're getting here. AJ Terrell, great call. One of the best, most underrated corners in the league. One of the best players that nobody knows exists for some reason. Jesse Bates getting a shout. I'm glad Armand brought this up because Bijan crossed my mind. And I'm telling Tyler, oh, he hasn't had the production yet. I'm thinking when Anthony Santrake London, I don't know if he's had the production yet. And I'm thinking a rookie. So, shame on me. He doesn't have the production yet, but he's a contender for sure. I think.
I think he can be.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what he does.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick look here. Some love for, correct me if I'm wrong, but Chris Lindstrom, guard.
Lindstrom, yeah.
Very good player. I also love the Grady Jarrett love. We have a Drake London shout. We have a Drake London shout. We have a Kyle Pitts shout. I think, damn, that's a tough call.
Yeah.
That is a really tough call. I think I'm gonna let you guys have that one. I'll go with one of those young pass catchers because despite the lack of production, how are you gonna have production when Marcus Mariota's throwing you the damn ball?
Exactly.
All due respect to Mariota.
So now in that conversation, what would you think about Ritter? How is he gonna do?
Yeah, and that's the big question of the offseason, Tyler. I think, if you listen to the show, we talk all the time about isolating the variable. Like, if you want to know if a quarterback is for real, give them a decent offensive line. Check. They have one of the best in the league. Give them decent weapons. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Cordero Patterson. Check. They have weapons.
Right.
See what happens. At that point, if Ritter doesn't produce, we know Ritter's not the guy.
Right.
Do I think he will produce? I think he will a little bit. I think he'll do enough to not get benched. And I think eventually, maybe if they're bad enough, they'll draft their quarterback of the future. If they're not, what do you do if you're the Falcons? What do you do if you're the Falcons? If Ritter's not the guy, are you going to wait for somebody to become a free agent again? Are you going to go trade for Trey Lance? I don't know. We're in if you don't have a quarterback, when it's quarterback carousel, I talk about it all the time. It's musical chairs. And if the music stops and you're not sitting in one of the chairs, you don't have one of those top 15, top 20 quarterbacks who you can win with. What do you do? Right?
Right. I think Ritter's going to show up just because of the weapons that he has.
He should.
If you're in the NFL, you got to be at least decent.
Yeah. And he only has to be as good as like how Tua Tagovailoa finds his weapons, He only has to be as good as, I'm trying to think of another example, Jimmy Garoppolo in his career, finding his weapons, You don't have to be the best player on certain teams with certain offensive schemes. If you're a quarterback, you could be like Brock Purdy. You could be throw rock when they throw paper, or throw rock when they throw scissors, throw scissors when they throw paper. Like, that's all you have to do as a quarterback. Read the defense, decide where to go with the ball. It's not rocket science sometimes. Armand throwing some love for Kirk's cousin. Wow, that was a horrible joke. I'm so sorry. I apologize for that. Kirk's cousin. Future Falcons QB, not a bad call. That's an upgrade over Ritter's.
That's the first time I'm ever hearing that.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
I've heard the same thing about Kirk to San Francisco. Interesting conversations. Interesting things to think about. Boys, we did it. We covered the best player on every team in the NFC. I feel like I have such a nice optimism for the league right now. How did this exercise feel for you guys?
It was harder than I thought. I will admit there are a lot of good players, and I was oh man, I have to juggle them so much. I thought it was going to be easy. Yeah, this guy,
right.
But then it ended up being a roll the dice and see what comes up first.
Yeah, basically. Ant, how did you feel?
Yeah, I think it was a really fun thought exercise. because there's such good players in the league, and we never really put them into teams. It's like, oh, this is the best receiver, this is the best tight end, this is the best quarterback. So when we think about like on one team, while they're practicing, while they're doing training camp, while they're in the off season, these are the guys. We're not even seeing them play yet, and we're trying to say who's the best because that could change. And I think that variable aspect is really exciting.
Hell yeah, dude. Could not agree more. Yeah, I had a blast doing it. I think we did a really, really good job. Shout out to Armand. Had a blast. This is awesome. AFC is going to be exciting. Oh, Pops is excited for the AFC. We got some real love from the chat today. You guys are the backbone of this show. I say it every time. If you're not signed up for the Legit Football Daily newsletter, what the hell are you doing? You freaking goof. Go sign up.
I love it. I love it.
If you're not subscribed to the podcast, if you don't have notifications on, turn them the freak on. We're doing this twice a week, mostly 3 times on Wednesdays with 30 minutes. Me, Ant McFadden, Adrian Revito, who, by the way, welcomed his beautiful son into the world.
Oh,
I want to just give you guys the
yes.
good news. I'm going to let Adrian tell you guys all about it, but there is good news on the Adrian Revito front. And were you looking for a drop there to play for Adrian's son?
I
think you
was.
should.
I was looking for one.
Give me a little Adrian Revito. Beautiful. We're welcoming that baby into
It's the
world.
sound of life coming into the world.
Adrian, play. I know Adrian's listening. He wouldn't miss it for the world. But Adrian, play this for your son. You want to be a Bills fan? The Packers stink. No, I'm just kidding. Shout out to Adrian. I can't wait for him to tell us all about it. I just wanted to give you guys the good news.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Legit Football NFL podcast. Tyler, did you have a blast?
Oh, I loved it. It was great.
We had a blast
Thank
having
you
you
so
on the
much
show.
for letting me on this.
Anytime,
awesome.
dude. I cannot wait for next week. Ant, did you have a blast?
Always.
I know
man.
you
It's
had a
always good
blast.
time.
I don't even got to ask. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Legit Football NFL podcast, and we are out.